Thank you, John. Thank you. So once again, magandang umaga, magandang hapon, magandang hali, magandang gabi sa lahat ng mga Pilipino nasaan man kayong panig sa mundong ito dahil ang Talakayan 3K Online ay napapanood at napapakinggan globally sa pamamagitan ng YouTube, Facebook at Talakayan 3K.live. Actually, itong episode natin ngayon is the second episode after a 3-day furlough because of some issues, pandemic-related issues at home. But thank God we're able to go through, nakatatlampas na kami sa tunnel, at so we're back. So, again, as I was saying, this is a follow-through of the earlier episode na ginawa natin about the SPO. So, for our panelists today, again, we welcome again Ma'am Pinky. Ma'am Pinky, thank you again for your time, for spending with us this episode, Talakayan. And we have from Ms. Catherine, also from the SPO office. And we have Serbian Vasco of the Port Users Confederation of the Philippines. Then we have Attorney Ryan Sponilla of the Confederation of Truckers of the Philippines, and Mr. Sardino of SITAP din. So, ang issue support ay matindi. In fact, this is an issue that has been with us for over 2 decades. I understand. Serbian, am I correct if we say that 2 decades na itong problema niyo support?
I think so. Mukhang tama yan.
Okay. So, but anyway, we'll first get the opening statements of each and every one of them. So then we go to the open discussions. In the discussions, among yourselves, among the panelists, you can ask questions also. So, Ma'am Pinky, if you will, please, you can start your opening statement, Ma'am.
Good morning, Chito. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here this morning and to be part of the discussion with regard to SPO, further to our previous discussion on the matter. And it would be my pleasure to share with you updates on what has happened on the complaints filed with us, how many complaints have been filed, and what are the actions being taken by the SPO. Thank you.
Okay. So, Ma'am Catherine, can you please follow Ma'am Pinky, please?
Yes, Sir Chito. Good morning po again, and to everyone, good morning. I'm also happy to be here today and to share with you what are the activities, what are the how SPO handles issues and concerns and complaints that has been filed before our office. Thank you, sir.
Serbian, your opening statement, Serbian.
Yes, Tito. What I can say is that the problem that we have, the Port Users Confederation, with certain shipping lines is that there have been developing new destination charges. Every now and then, merong bago. And sometimes merong mawawala to be replaced only by another charge which is similar to the previous one.
Okay.
And our basic problem is that there is no legal basis for all these charges. Halimbawa, yung congestion charges. I know for a fact that, there was congestion in 2014. There was. But then after the congestion charges continue to be charged by the shipping lines. And there is no congestion anymore. Kaya yung ganong klaseng sitwasyon, that has become very costly for our port users. Kinumpute nga namin yan. We have computed all the costs involved in paying all these different destination charges. It amounted to something like 100. Yung epekto na lang. The effect on per kilo basis is so high that it has already contributed to the ongoing, I would say, inflation of prime commodities in the country, because marami tayong ini-import na mga marami tayong mga ini-import na mga consumable goods. And when we import this on a per container basis, we pay these destination charges. And ultimately, it is the port user who ultimately pays. Kasi Chart din naman namin yan eh. Kaming mga brokers, etc. to the ultimate user of the product. And this, we believe, has already contributed very much to the inflation that is now going on in the country. So our appeal was for these destination charges to be completely stopped muna.
Okay.
Itigil na muna, and then let's talk, and then start from the very beginning. Ano ba ang proper? Ano ba yung dapat na singilin? Ano ba yung talagang dapat na pwedeng bayaran at hindi dapat bayaran? Okay. There are such things that can be discussed, ika nga. Ang nangyari in the past, sa 1 decade ago, nag-start yung pag-charge ng mga destination charges without even consulting us. Yung mga producer, wala yan, walang consultation yan. Bigla na lang dadating yan, naka-bill yan doon sa mga brokers natin. And the poor broker cannot do anything except pay. Kasi kung hindi mo babayaran, hindi lalabas yung container. Hindi bibigay ng shipping line. So that's a problem. So Chito, in short, yun ang gist of the problem.
Okay, sige. So thank you, Sir Bien. At maganda pag-uusapan natin yun together with Ma'am Pinky and Ma'am Catherine. Kasi talaga, it is an issue that hurts the pocket of the nation. Because all these costs are eventually carried, ang burden nito are carried by consumers because these are pass-on rates. But anyway, let's go to Attorney Ryan. Attorney, your opening statement, please, sir.
Yes, sir. It is very fortunate for the Confederation that the Department of Transportation has created the SPO. Under the jurisdiction of SPO, it will supervise the international shipping lines charges. But the more concern of the trackers, aside from those charges that being mentioned by Serbian, is the operation of international shipping lines. Because one of the major problem on the part of the trackers is the return of empty containers. There are so many charges that being shouldered on the part of the trackers, which is maybe passed on to the basic prices of the basic commodities. Those charges are unnecessary charges that can be do away by the pronouncement or even by filing charges with the SPO. Okay. We are more concerned on the operation of the international shipping lines aside from those charges that being mentioned by Serbian Basco.
Okay. So thank you, attorney. So Sardino.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Good morning, Chito. Actually, nasa road trip sana ako, kaya lang tumigil muna ako sa isang place para makasali sa discussion. Actually, ang mga problema natin dyan sa fair is one yung, which is sinabi doon ni Mr. Basco, yung mga unnecessary charges ng charge sa atin ng mga international shipping line. As a broker and a tracker, kami, nagbabayad na lang kami, then pinapaso na yan ng mga importer or exporter. Kaya talagang tumataas ang mga presyo natin. Thank you.
Okay, so again, we at least just a little recap on what we had earlier during the first episode, Ma'am Pinky. Remember, na you stressed that one of the reasons actually why we're having this problem is the lack of the legal basis because we don't have a law yet on that. So, is it primarily one of the reasons why, parang is it partly nagiging handicap ba yan ng SPO, ma'am, ngayon in your implementation of the programs ng SPO? The absence of a legal basis, absence of a law on that regard, ma'am?
Yeah, I think kahit pa paano, I think we have to admit that unlike a law, di ba, na bibigay ng jurisdiction or mandate sa isang agency, SPO kasi is a creation of the IATF, no, and the Department of Transportation. But I would like to think that meron din siyang tawag nito legal basis because diba, it was issued under extraordinary circumstances. Kaya dun sa department order creating the SPO, it stated there that it is a temporary measure. So meaning, yung powers niya, yung mandate niya would be coterminous dun sa existence ng pandemic. Meron naman, meron siyang mandate. Yun nga lang
So,
siguro different. It could have been different if there's really a law which would spell out,
yes,
the specific powers. Like for example, yung limitation sa SPO is that once we issue a recommendation, a resolution containing recommendation, diba, on the facts and the issues presented to us, the most we can do is to issue that to the respondent or to the shipping lines, and for them to implement or to adopt. But assuming the shipping line will not adopt that resolution or recommendation, there is nothing kasi in the rules or in the department order creating the SPO na may power siya to really enforce the resolution.
So anyway, that leads me back to the statement earlier ni Sir Bien. Sir Bien, you said earlier that these shipping companies try to just retitle or rename the charges. So what's your rejoinder on the statement of Ms. Mampinki on that regard?
Well, Attorney Pinky is correct that there is no particular agency in government regulating the charges and I would say charges of the international shipping lines. So, in the absence of such law regulating this, talagang there will be problems. I agree with the Attorney Pinky on that matter. Kaya lang, yung aming request sa PUCP is itigil muna. Stop muna. Moratorium muna. I mean, we are in a pandemic. We are in a pandemic and people are suffering. We don't have to pay more just because the shipping lines charge more. Sayang eh. I mean, kawawa naman yung tao. And then we can talk, we can sit down, and then, sige, okay, bayaran namin ito, it's justifiable, it is okay to pay. Pwede yun. But congestion charges in a port where there is no congestion. I understand it should be the DOTR or the PPA who can declare congestion, but no congestion has been declared. Why charge congestion fees? That's one example.
So Ma'am Pinky, would it be under the authority of, would have the Shippers Protection Office have the power to do such a thing na sinasabi ni Attorney Bien, ma'am? Can it order the shipping lines to hold or muna magkaroon ng moratorium on the payment collection of these charges? Would it be within the power of SPO to do that?
Correct. But as what I've said earlier, assuming the shipping lines will not be able to implement or adopt the recommendation of the SPO, there is nothing, there are no penalties kasi prescribed under the department order. But whatever would be kasi yung resolution or yung facts that we have gathered during the investigation, this can be a basis kasi in the formulation of yung law that would eventually regulate this shipping lines.
Okay. So anyway, Attorney Ryan, from the end of the truckers, are you also experiencing yung sinasabi ni Attorney Bien that despite the creation of the SPO, despite of the authority, the mandate ng SPO, there are still issues that concern the truckers on terms with the international shipping lines, Attorney?
On the part of the truckers, there are various concerns that we encountered in dealing with the shipping lines. So, aside from those charges that being mentioned, we encounter also operational hindrances in dealing with international shipping lines that affects the business operation of our members. One of the common dilemma of our members in filing with the SPO, as we experience, as what we filed before the DTI, is most of the complaint of our members is the charges that being imposed by the international shipping lines. The problem with the jurisdiction of the SPO, on the part of the complainant, we charge that being charged by the international shipping lines. the jurisdiction of the SPO cannot issue a decision that categorically would state that such charges is illegal or uncalled for. So the jurisdiction of the SPO is just recommendatory to appropriate government agency. Our dilemma on the part of the complainant, instead of filing the complaint with the SPO, we will go directly to the court because there are charges that is being charged by the shipping lines that continually increasing during the pendency of the action. So while filing the complaint before the SPO, some of our members decided to go directly to the court because the timeline or the time that being spent at the SPO, they cannot be assured that the prayer or the demand by our members would be granted or will be complied by the respondent. That is one of the dilemma on the part of the trackers.
Okay, so Attorney Sir Dino, as a broker and as a tracker, ikaw, what's your take on the issues that ngayon affecting sa inyo, sir?
Actually, Chito, problema, isa sa mga problema namin yung container deposit, ano? Right now, dalawang shipping line na nagsarado. The one is MOF and the other one is Lesolay. Ang mga problema namin dyan, marami kami container deposit na hindi na namin ma-recover dahil nagsarado na sila. One thing, dapat, yan ang dapat mawala sa shipping line, mga charges na yung container deposit.
Ayoko nang makinig ko kahapon. Nani-ship ko yun. Alam ko na gusto ko.
Okay. So, Ma'am Pinky, what do you think yung options na ginagawa ngayon ng trackers, ma'am? That they will go directly to the court. What's the position on the SPO on that regard? If, for instance, the port stakeholders will, instead of going to SPO, file their issues directly, cases with the court. What's the position on the SPO on that regard, ma'am?
They are not precluded actually from doing exhausting all legal remedies available. I don't think pag-file ng case before the SPO would constitute parang forum shopping. Kasi diba, as mentioned earlier, the resolution of the SPO is recommendatory.
Yeah. So, do you think that there is really a need, ma'am, for all stakeholders in the port to work together and lobby in the crafting of the law that will really address these issues?
Actually, there are already, I recall there are two House bills already filed in the House of Representatives. The one was sponsored by Congresswoman Bernadette Herrera C. The proposed House bill defined the roles of the different government agencies, and essentially it aims to regulate local charges, yun nga yung origin and destination being imposed by international shipping lines. And the other one was sponsored by Congressman Ronnie Ong. That bill empowers Marina to regulate transportation cost. So very clear na specific at government agency being identified having jurisdiction over these international shipping lines. And there in one bill it also created yung parang oversight committee composed of the different government agencies. So yung House bills na to are proof that it's a recognition that there are no existing legislation that directly confers jurisdiction over government agency to regulate the charges of this international shipping lines. But I agree that I think the court, based on maybe the contract between the commercial contract between the shipper and the shipping line, that can be thrashed out. Issues arising from that contract can be properly thrashed out in regular courts.
So, but basically, what you're saying, Ma'am Pinky, it's really the problem of the absence of a law defining ano talaga yung mga penalties, anong sanctions, ano. So, going back, so Sir Bien,
Yeah.
Anong efforts is your group doing some efforts in coordinating with Congress, doing lobby with Congress so that itong mga concerns you would be addressed? Because apparently the problem lies on the absence of the legal basis for whatever action na gagawin ng SPO, sir.
Yeah, saying that there is no legal basis is, as of now, correct. There is no law that really, I would say, controls the charges of the shipping lines or regulate the activities of shipping lines. I read the two bills, and one of them, the one prepared by Congressman Ronnie Ong, yeah, is, I would say, more aligned to our needs than the other bill. However, the other bill also has merits. So ang tingin ko dito, yung dalawang bill na yan will have to be
consolidated,
studied, and siguro the good points of both bills should be put into one bill that would completely take care of this matter. In the meantime, ito yung aming problema eh. In the meantime, what do we do? Nagsasuffer yung mga tao. We are increasing inflation. Tayo ang nagko-contribute sa inflation because ang daming in-import natin na mga, hindi lang naman consumer goods eh. Even the raw materials of our products are imported. And for every container that the shipping lines add to the cost of importing these containers is contributing to inflation. So anong ating pwedeng gawin? Ang aming request is stop muna, moratorium muna. And then, paspasan natin yung bill. I think it should be passed as or requested by the President as an urgent bill because this has been going on for so many decades or so many years.
You already have this prayer with SPO, Sir Bien. Kayo sa trackers, Attorney Ryan, do you also have that kind of prayer na sinasabi ni Sir Bien na for the SPO to intervene in the meantime para magkaroon ng moratorium itong issues na to?
Sir Chito, as member of SITAP, as member of the PUCP, we endorse the complaint being filed by the PUCP, which is currently pending with the SPO. The SITAP support the complaint that being filed by PUCP at SPO. And then, as a member of the Port Users Confederation, we support the stand of PUCP that temporarily to grant moratorium of all charges that being levied by the international shipping lines temporarily during this pandemic.
Okay. So, Ma'am Pinky, what are the chances of this prayer ng port users at SPO of its being granted or whatever?
Chito, I don't want to preempt yung maging resolution ng complaints officer and then ng SPO, but just like to assure that yung sa case ng PUC, dim submit.
Hello, ma'am.
And let's see what would be the comments, what would be the recommendation of the complaints officer. But I would like to share na yung sa statistics natin, so far SPO has received a total of 48 complaints.
Okay.
45 of which are considered complaints, yung tatlo are inquiry. Unfortunately, yung 13 lang ang nakapag-comply doon sa prescribed format kasi under sa rules ng SPO, they have to comply with specific format, diba? Sino yung complainant, ano yung facts. Unfortunately, tatlo lang ang nag-comply, and we also have tatlo. We're happy to report na sa tatlong complaints, the parties entered into a compromise agreement, yung amicable settlement. So that is good development. Yun nga, kahit na hindi na tayo abot sa resolution, the parties among themselves agreed na okay, isettle natin. That would leave both parties parang win-win situation. So we're hoping, di ba, for the other cases na pag may recommendation na yung SPO, na merong ganun na arrangement.
Well, at least that would be, yeah. Sige ma'am, sige, continue ma'am.
We have yet to issue kasi to resolve a complaint based on the parang facts presented and the issues presented, and yung may recommendation talaga yung SPO. Kasi yung tatlo I mentioned earlier, hindi na, kumaga sa merits ng case, hindi na resolve because the parties themselves agreed to settle the concerns. And then that would which resulted to the dismissal of the complaints.
Well, at least yung sinasabi mo ma'am na yung 3 cases and nag-prosper, that could be a good start. Diba, Sir Bian, that could be a good start. Although isa lang ang inaano, I've told Attorney Pinky De Los Santos dito during our first episode ng Talakayan that ang isa dyan is because the requirement that only the shippers consignee can file. So in fact, my appeal to sana dito kay Ma'am Pinky was, can consumers not be considered party of interest in the issue? Because all these are actually charges are passed on costs and eventually carried by the consumers that wala na kaming papasahan. Because yes. Okay, Sir Bien, go on.
Yes, Chito, no? I believe the SPO has done a very good job in hearing this case, no? They have listened to us. They have also listened to the other side. And as of now, I'm very sure the SPO is well versed on what the issues are. And I'm sure they are aware of the consequences of these issues that will or is already affecting our country. And so I think at this point, the SPO may already make a recommendation. That's what I feel. So we thank the SPO for giving us the time and the effort in listening to us and the shipping lines.
So Ma'am Pinky, ano ng resolutions na nailabas ng SPO on the issues affecting the port?
So far yung tatlo na yon, the dismiss yung complaints because yung the parties adapted, the SPO adapted yung agreement ng parties na nagset. Kasi not into a compromise agreement. Yung pending sa amin would be yung sa PUC, that would be a test case because the parties did not amicably settle their differences. So we have to come up with a resolution and recommendation. Dito, if I may share lang, very interesting, kasi you mentioned kasi kanina is a shipper, can we include the shipper? Yun nga, as I mentioned then during the last meeting, very clear kasi yung department orders sa SPO rules na yung ano lang talaga pwede mag-complain, yung tawag nito, consumers pala, yung shippers lang pwede, yung consumers hindi sila pwede mag-complain. But very interesting, during, meron kaming complaints na na-receive regarding dun sa container, yung kinokollect allegedly by container yards. Okay?
Yeah.
Diyan pag-return ng empties.
Hello?
Section SPO.
Hello?
Mayroong problema, Ma'am Pinky, sa iyo.
Hindi ako narinig.
Naputol-putol. But you're coming in.
Pakiulit lang.
You're coming in now, okay na ngayon.
Okay. Siguro baka. Yung sabi ko, yung interesting, we have an interesting case, or actually, I think mga 3 cases na yung complaint is about the fee being collected by container yard dun sa pag-return ng empty. Yung issue kasi doon is may jurisdiction ba si SPO over container yards, because yun nga sa the department orders sa kasi rules, si shipper lang ang pwede mag-file ng complaint. So kung ang part to the shipper at saka shipping lines. We discussed yesterday and then tinitingnan namin yung angle na sinasauli kasi, 'di ba, parang it is obligation of the shipping line to provide, 'di ba, yung container yard.
Yes. Dapat. Hello.
Sa shipping line kasi nag-argue, pwedeng mag-argue si shipping line na hindi, well, I don't have an agreement with the container yard. Nominated ko lang siya. But we're trying to look into yung possibility na container yard being an agent of the shipping line, di ba? So pairing,
Yes.
tawag nito, agent siya ni shipping line, so hindi pwedeng totally out of the picture. But discussion pa lang namin yan sa mga sa mga complaints officer, and we have to to come up with parang recommendation on how we can address yung mga situations like that.
So I remember, Ma'am Pinky, during our first episode that we discussed also the other department order extending the free time period from 5 to 8 days. And I understand this has also been a problem because yun na yun. Hello? Yung pagsoli ng mga empty containers, there are concerns then that it is not actually the fault of the broker or the tracker, but it is the fault of the shipping lines and the container yard na kung saan babagsakan. So in fact, we initially discussed the issue of coming up with a timeline from the time nag-request ang shipper, ang tracker, or ang broker na isusoli na namin ito to the time the shipping companies issues an order kung saan ibabagsak. Remember, Ma'am Pinky, we had that agreement, the discussions before. So what happened to that proposal ng una na there will be a defined timeline para lumampas man ng 8 days, hindi ang burden to pay the charges ay hindi kukunin ng tracker o broker. That should be that should be a cost to the shipping lines or the container yard. What happened to that, ma'am? Hello?
Malabo yung aking thing.
Yeah, ngayon okay na. Yan.
One of the functions kasi ng SPO to conduct an investigation, and yun nga, isa sa mga tasks na ni-agree ng secretariat sa SPO is to look into yung mga practices nga ng mga container yards. Ongoing po yung research at saka investigation na ginagawa namin, but yung situation na sinasabi mo, Chito, assuming yung complaint would involve the computation ng free time, di ba? Then we have to consider yung provision ng department order kasi, di ba, that has been validly issued.
So, Sir Bien, do you have incidents na itong department order ay hindi sinusunod ng shipping lines, yung extended free time na 8 days?
Well, I'm not aware of any incident yet, but we can research on this. We'll have to talk to our members.
So, Ma'am Pinky, in case there should be some instances na may mga shipping lines that does not follow that provision of the department order, anong possible sanctions could be done? Because I heard meron daw, that's not confirmed, but there are allegations that there are shipping lines that do not actually follow the provision of the department order extending the free time period ng cargos unloaded by international shipping companies.
Resolve the complaint implementing yung provisions ng department order kasi is presumed to have been regularly issued, di ba? So valid siya unless otherwise challenged. And I cannot say at this point what would be the actions that DOTR or the SPO will take even when our resolution, di ba, implementing, di ba, enforcing that department order will not be complied by the shipping lines.
But have you received any complaint on that regard, ma'am, mga yung free time, aside from of course the other destination charges, the violation of the provision ng free extended time? Have you received such kind of complaints sa SPO?
Sa pagkakaalam ko wala pa, but Kathy can confirm this. Kat, may specific complaint ba on yung
No, ma'am. We haven't received any complaint po with regards the international shipping lines non-compliance with DOTR Department Order number 2020-007.
So, Ma'am Kathy, basically, ano ang bulk ng complaints that you have right now with SPO from the stakeholders ng port?
Sir Tito, usually po, ang mga complaints na nare-receive namin against international shipping lines are complaints against exorbitant charges such as destination charge, demurrage, and yung unreturned container deposits po.
So you have the particulars kung anong mga specific shipping companies ito in your database ngayon, Ma'am. I mean, kumbaga anong mga recidivist shipping companies dyan?
Oo. Tito, sorry, we cannot share that kasi ano pa siya.
No. I'm not asking for particulars. I'm just an opinion, just a comment, because kumbaga sa if you are a recidivist, anong sanction yan, Sir Bien? Pag sa military? O kaya may matindi ang ano nun?
Doble parusa.
Doble parusa.
May tanong na ako kay Miss Pinky Cachito.
Sige dyan.
May tatlong lang ako. You mentioned na merong 43 complaints raised, pero only 13 complied with the format. I'm just wondering kung ano yung action naman ginagawa ng agency niyo to help those who did not comply with the format to comply. Baka kasi naman valid yung complaint nila.
Actually, very clear yung SPO rules. Gumawa kami ng template. Actually, you just have to fill out the details there. So what we do, we email to them yung SPO rules, kasama na yung template. I-fill up na lang nila para yung mga details. But unfortunately, it's either siguro na di ko alam kung baka they're pursuing yung action nila outside of the SPO or nag-decide na lang sila na hindi nila ipupursue. Pero very, kumbaga customer friendly yung SPO rules kasi nga para alam namin na para hindi na mahirapan, we prepare the template that all that the complainant has to do is to fill out the details.
So, ang isang tanong, ma'am, kasi I remember, if I know, correct me if I'm wrong, na itong SPO is temporary in nature. So, in fact, in the provision dun sa Department Order is that after the pandemic, mawawala ito. So, ano ngayon ang options? What are the options you're looking at right now sa SPO, ma'am? Especially sa stakeholders, anong magiging option nyo in case matapos na itong pandemya, which I doubt if it can be over in a year or what?
I recall I attended a meeting hosted by DTI, and SecMon has mentioned that while this may be temporary nature, the possibility of extending yung SPO functions beyond the pandemic can still be explored. But I would like to believe that yung pending House bills of Congress would really address would be a long-term solution to this parang naging issue on charges used by the shipping lines. Siguro ang recommendation merong champion din sa Senate, yung counterpart bill sa Senate kasi I'm not sure if there is one.
So, Sir Bien, kayo sa stakeholders, are you willing, guys, sa bagay, kayo naman ang biggest organization of port users, ano ang lobby initiatives nyo ngayon sa Congress, if only, para at least you will know in the crafting of the law, yung mga issues nyo are properly addressed? Anong mga initiatives nyo ngayon na ginagawa sa stakeholders? As far as the okay.
Ganito yan our organization attends frequently and regularly the meetings of the Committee on Transportation.
Okay.
And through that, with that attendance, we believe that siguro we could talk to these people and consider these two bills as urgent. There are other ways. I think there are other ways of making the Congress or asking the Congress to act on the two bills expeditiously. Siguro if this can be certified as urgent because of the pandemic nga and its effect on the pandemic, siguro this can be certified as urgent, and then perhaps action can be had in a very short time. We hope that can happen. We hope that can happen.
As a rejoinder sa sinabi mo, Attorney Servien, na how much percent of it, itong mga destination charges na sinisingil ng mga shipping lines, how much percent of it ang nagiging rate, ang nagiging cost ng cost of goods, consumer goods natin dito?
Chito, yung figures, I got the figures already, I think 2 months ago, no? I gave it to Attorney Dizon, yung aming who's the one appearing for us in the SPO. He has the figures, and it's a very substantial figure, and we believe that it can cost inflation. Malaki.
Yeah, because this is the cost actually, Sir Bien, that is being passed on to us as consumers. And there's no way for us to pass it down further down, So, kaya nga, yun yung prayers nga namin, sinasabi ko kay Ma'am Pinky, consumers should be considered as party of interest in this issue, because it's not really the brokers, the port stakeholders that's hurting. It is the consumer that's hurting.
Yep.
So, Ma'am Pinky, what are our chances of, ito si Attorney Ryan, because si Attorney Ryan, ito affected din sila ito sa mga trackers dahil sa mga container deposits. Sinasabi ni Sir Dino, ilang milyon ang hindi nyo nasingil dahil nagsara na yung mga shipping companies. So in other words, that's money lost, considered lost?
Yun nga sir, yung usap-usapan nga sa mga operators, if these unnecessary charges, matanggal to, we can comply with yung policy direction ng government to modernize the trucking industry. Kasi itong mga necessary charges na to, kaya nitong magbayad sa mga monthly amortization ng mga kukunin sa ng mga bagong unit ng mga members namin. Pag ito ma-streamline at matanggal tong mga unnecessary charges, kaya naming sumabay sa policy direction ng government to modernize. Sana ito yung magiging priority ng government, na matulungan tayong matanggal tong mga aside from matulungan kaming mag-modernize, hindi na rin ito mapapasok sa basic prices ng mga commodities natin.
Itong attorney, itong mga additional charges, mga sinasabi mo, are these being passed on also to consumers, or this being deducted sana sa profits ng trackers, or is it being taken out for dapat sa revenue, hindi naman pinapass out? Kasi I remember sinabi ni Sir Rupert noon that some companies inaapektuhan ang profitability nila because of these charges. In other words, hindi nila pinapasa sa consumers. Is it a real situation?
Yung on the part of the trackers, yung mga charges na to, pinapass on namin to sa client. And then yung client naman, yung umabot man to sa manufacturing, doon na yung papasa sa price ng business.
Doon na yan sa cost of goods, ipapasok na yan sa cost of goods.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
nandito na rin si Ma'am Zapata po.
Hi, Ma'am Mary. Good morning. Hello? Hello, Ma'am Mary. Ito si Ma'am Mary. I know she has a lot of issues to tell about what's going on at the port. Ma'am, pinag-uusapan namin ngayon nila Ma'am Pinky De Los Santos yung about dung mga destination charges at saka yung mga additional cost na sinushoulder ng trackers, particularly the empty containers. Can you give us, Ma'am, ano ang actual observations mo? Dahil alam ko, you hands-on ka talaga sa pier, sa ports, Ma'am. Ano ang issues, anong concerns niyo, Ma'am?
Freeze yung connection niya.
Hello, Ma'am Pinky. Ma'am Mary. Hello? Hello, Ma'am Mary. Anyway, we'll get back at Ma'am Mary habang nag-aano pa yung ano. So Ma'am Pinky, itong mga issues na ito really is really something na pag ito malaak, I do not know, has there ever been an initiative from the consumers on your sa PPA on that matter na about concerning mga issues sa support? Have you, Ma'am Catherine, aside from the SPO, even before the creation of the SPO, meron ba kayo natatanggap ng mga issues about charges na sinisingil sa port from the consumer aspect? Hello, Ma'am Catherine.
Hello, sir. With regards po sa mga charges that PPA receive outside of the SPO,
Yeah.
we usually receive, sir, complaints or requests for discount on storage charges imposed by PPA.
Po. But these are government charges actually ito.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Kasi sir, usually po, the shipping charges, both domestic and foreign, are not within the mandate of PPA.
Okay.
Yeah, if I
sige, Ma'am Pinky. Okay.
Ang pagkakalam ko kasi before the creation of the SPO, yung issues relating to charges international shipping lines are being lodged with PTI. Yan ang pagkakalam ko. Kasi nga parang because of yung consumers related mga laws natin being enforced by DTI.
Okay. Oh, Ma'am Mary, you're back, Ma'am Mary. Hello, Ma'am Mary. Hello. Hello, Ma'am Mary.
Hi, Chito.
Yeah.
Morning.
Yeah, Ma'am Mary, pinag-usapan namin kanina. Can you tell us your insight? Kung ano talaga yung first-hand information mo sa ports, anong issues niyo, ma'am? As president of the CITAP, as an officer of the CITAP. Hello, Ma'am Mary.
Chito nga, I'm so sorry dahil itong can you hear me clearly?
Yeah. Oh,
Maliwanag
you're coming in now. Maliwanag na, yeah. Yeah, we can hear you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You're coming in clear.
Maliwanag na.
Yeah.
Ano yung sinasabi ni Attorney Pinky kung ano yung mga gastos namin sa sauli ng MT?
Yes, part of it, ma'am. We discussed also that.
Yung port
yes,
charges,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mga port charges.
Yes, ma'am.
Ang pinakamalaki talagang as of now na everybody is experiencing is yung pagsasauli talaga ng MT ng mga ekwipo ng mga shipping line to their seawise, no? So, hindi nga namin maintindihan kung bakit hindi nila efficiently ma-manage. Although mayroon kaming mga previous meeting with AASL, especially yung sa NCT, ang sabi naman nila they will address it and they will discuss with the higher management ng NCT plus yung mga shipping line na nagdadala sa kanila. So that was a month ago or more than a month ago. And sabi nga nila magkakaroon ulit kami ng succeeding meeting as an assessment meeting para ma-report namin kung was there any development or it remains the same. So wala ring pagbabago pa. So we wanted na sana anytime they will call for another sit-down meeting and para ma-address out ulit. And of course, aside from that, ang pinakamarami pa rin nating na-experience going to the port and out of the port bound for the delivery, of course, yung aming mga experiences sa MTB na masyado silang talagang very, very strict to the level of apprehensions up to the extent of impounding the trucks, the units, plus the container, whether it is loaded or not. Ang situation nangyayari yon, if ever, they will be checking, they will be stopping the truck, i-check nila kung ilaw ba, may kung ano-ano, mayroon bang rehistro, ang chassis or what, if your action is delayed by way of you are searching for the record, i-impound ka na nga. And you will be out there on the impounding.
Oh.
Penalty on the part of the driver plus
Okay.
5,600.
Oh. So all these issues, ma'am,
5,000.
Mary, you already discussed this with SPO PPA.
Impounding fee.
Yeah. So anyway,
Man talaga
hello, ma'am.
doon nila ni-impound. Pinasusunod na doon. Ikaw din, yun din sa sakyan mo is
hello, Ma'am Mary. Garbled, Ma'am Mary. We can hardly understand yung sinasabi mo, Ma'am Mary. Siguro ayusin muna natin ang ano. So anyway, Ma'am Pinky. Hello? Still Ma'am Pinky. All these issues have been raised already with your office, SPO or PPA. So I remember mention ni Ma'am Mary kanina ang AISL. What's going to be the role of AISL on these issues, ma'am?
Actually, yung setup, I don't think that they lodge a complaint before the SPO. May I comment lang doon kasi sa concern sila sa MPB ba? Manila Traffic Bureau. Yung appropriate agency there would be siyempre yung LGU at saka DILG. So, yung sa issues on, yung sa container, yung mga charges that they have to they have to spend, diba, for the return of the empties, maging part siya ng investigation or research conducted by the SPO with regard to the activities ng container yards.
So, ang mandate ba ng SPO or for that matter, would it include coordinating with the other agencies, related agencies, para man lang magkaroon kayo ng comprehensive program to address the issues affecting the port? Like, you can coordinate with the local LGUs. Is it also part of your mandate, ma'am, to do that, ng SPO?
Once na, there are instances kasi na complaints na yung subject matter is within the jurisdiction of a competent government agency. What we do is we endorse these complaints to that government agency or agencies. Like, we have endorsed complaints sa DTI, yung Fair Trade Bureau, because it's clearly within the jurisdiction of that agency. Meron kaming ni-refer sa CAB kasi yung kino-complain nila is yung air freight, parang ganon. So, it's not within the SPO. Once natanggap namin at hindi magpo-fall under our jurisdiction, we immediately endorse them to the appropriate government agency.
So, Ma'am Serbian, may rejoinder ka sa sinabi ni Ma'am Pinky?
Yeah, I got it. So, si Ma'am Mary, hindi ko masyadong marinig kasi dito mahina ng dating. But I understand what Pinky has said.
So, are you stakeholders really willing to work together as one in trying to lobby at the Congress? Ma'am Pinky, kayo, Serbian, the law that's now being crafted in Congress, do you think that all your concerns are properly addressed at the House or at the Senate?
Yeah, Chito, judging from what Attorney Pinky has said earlier, that there is no legal basis that they can base their decision on. And so, siguro they will refer this our complaint to another agency. Ang tingin ko, tama naman siya na there should be a law para naman talagang it should really govern the activities of not only the foreign shipping lines but also the foreign shipping line agents. Kasi alam mo, yung mga agent ang naniningil niyan eh. Yung mga agents ang naniningil. Yung shipping line, they were paid the freight, no? Yung freight, binayaran yan eh.
Yeah.
Pero yung mga destination charges, kaya nga tinawag na destination, doon sa destination yung binabayaran.
Sisingil.
Oo, ay ang kinakausap mo sa destination yung agent eh. So, siguro that law should include the agents representing the shipping lines. Yun ang nawawala doon sa dalawang version na sa tingin ko dapat nakasama.
So, what's your comment about that, Ma'am Pinky, on sinasabi na ni Mr. Bien na that's not included in the law?
Chito, I just want to clarify din sa statement ni PDM Ben na walang legal basis yung SPO to come up with a recommendation. Yun nga, yung sabi ko lang na parang yung lacking ba yung what's this, yung parang legal basis for us to really enforce yung decision, kasi yung pag-hear ng complaint, yung pag-address ng complaints clearly spelled out sa department order, which is valid, diba? It's a legal basis. Yung sinasabi ko, yung tinatanong kanina, assuming shipping lines will not comply with the recommendation of the SPO, yun ang medyo kulang ng legal basis ba na unlike, di ba, pagbatas, nakalagay talaga na, okay, pag hindi nila mag-comply dyan, pwedeng mo i-confiscate. Pwedeng mo imprisonment, o kaya magbabayad sila ng fine. Yan ang wala kasi sa department order because it's not a law, di ba? Kasi may limitations din yung department order. Unlike sa law, na very clearly, pwede sa magsabi na, okay, penalties for non-compliance with the provision, pwedeng ma-imprisonment, pwedeng mag-fine ng 500,000 o 1 million, just like what are contained dun sa proposed House bills.
So, you are considering, sinabi ni Mr. Bien kanina, ma'am, na what is lacking in the law is to include the shipping agents dito sa Pilipinas, because I understand, I remember nung unang Task Force Pantalan when I had the chance to interview then Secretary, was siyang head ng Task Force Pantalan. Ang reply niya sa akin sa question kung can we not do anything about the international shipping lines? Ang sabi niya, these are foreign-based companies, we cannot regulate them. I would understand that, but yung sinasabi ni Sir Bien that why not the shipping agents that are based in the Philippines, registered in the Philippines, why are they not clearly defined, included in the law? I don't know if it's correct.
I will check whether shipping agents are not included, pero very clear kasi international shipping lines. But I will check kung ship agents are covered. But yeah, I agree that there's really a need to spell out, assuming hindi nakalagay doon, to include ship agents because they represent, diba, these shipping lines.
Yes. Diba, Sir Bien, hello. Andiyan pa si Sir Bien?
Wala, nag-drop out.
Okay. Attorney Ryan, ito si attorney. So, do you also consider that a real big problem? Kasi foreign-based companies and international shipping lines, that's beyond the reach of our legal system. So, if they cannot be charged, at least yung kanilang shipping agents that represent them in their transaction in the Philippines should be included in the law as accountable.
Although the concern of Serbian Basco is that ship agent is not included in the proposed bill, same with EUCPA and SITAP, we will be invited to the hearings of the Committee on Transportation before the House of Representatives. Since the bill is a working draft, we can include the proposal of Serbian that ship agent be included in its law. It is under the Department of Transportation. We will waiting for the invitation of the Committee on Transportation of the House of Representatives to attend before the hearing and then submit our recommendation to include ship agent in the proposed bill.
So, Sir Bien,
Yes.
So yung sinabi mo kanina, yung mga shipping agents are not included in the law now being crafted at the House.
Yeah, wala akong nabasa doon sa dalawang version. Wala akong
ganon?
nakita.
Well, kasi yun nga, the reality, sinabi nga sa akin, I remember nung unang task force Pantalan, na foreign-based companies are beyond our legal system. I understand, that's true.
Yeah, we do.
But
tama yun, But then the agents are
yes.
all, yes.
So that yan lang ang ano. So basically, Ma'am Pinky, that's really going to be a big problem if hindi yan nasama dahil una, kahit mayroong batas, sino ang habulin?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure that be enough safeguards sa gagawin na batas. Sabi nga ni Attorney Ryan, it's a working draft. And I'm sure yung inputs coming from the SPO will be welcome will be welcomed then by the House because yun nga, one of the functions then of the SPO is to document yung mga activities ng international shipping lines so far as charges are concerned.
Well, again, anyway, we're done with an hour. We had a very fruitful discussions this morning. So hopefully, magkaroon pa rin tayo ng ano. So just a recap, Ma'am Pinky. So ilan ang pending resolutions ngayon ng SPO? Ilan ang na-file? Ilan ang dispensed with, Ma'am? Just a recap, final recap lang. Hello?
Yeah, sorry. We have already closed 3 cases or 3 complaints because the parties were able to amicably settle their differences or their specific concerns. We have 4 submitted for resolution. The one filed by PUC. We hope to come up with resolution. The complaints officer has committed to submit the recommendation by next week, and it would involve I think several shipping lines.
So what?
I think submitted for resolution. We have 3. We have 3. Tama ba yung latest figure ko? 3 or 4? Yung submitted for resolution. 4, yes.
We have 4 complaints submitted for resolution, ma'am. And the other complaints, ma'am, we are still waiting for the response of the person complained of.
Yeah.
So, Ma'am Pinky, what do you suggest dito sa mga stakeholders in case they encountered incidents na itong mga shipping companies would not follow the provisions of any department order, like whether it's the SPO or the free time extension? What do you suggest they do?
They should lodge a complaint before the SPO. I mean the avenue for raising the complaint is there. I-try lang din nila, at least documented yung kanilang complaint, and let's see how the SPO will be able to address your concerns. But yun nga, I'd like to emphasize that the SPO was created precisely as a temporary measure to alleviate, diba, yung concerns ng shippers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Anyway, thank you so much to every one of you for spending time with us. At least binigyan nyo kami na isang oras sa mahalaga nyong oras na panahon. So we hope to have another session of this, Ma'am Pinky, again as a follow-through after this session. So Ma'am Pinky, Sir Bien, Attorney, Ma'am Mary, and Catherine, and Sardino, thank you so much for your time. We hope ang mga consumers naman, ang mga listeners natin would understand that under this pandemic, it is not only the responsibility of the government, we should do our own share. So as consumers, we should help the stakeholders air out our grievances, our sentiments on this issue because, again, as I was saying, it's us, the consumers, who's carrying the burden of these unnecessary and allegedly illegal charges being collected by shipping lines from the port holders. Again, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Good morning.